Where are you watching from tonight, friend? Is the room soft with a gentle hush, or are you listening from a place where the night has a slower rhythm? A balcony, a cave of blankets, a small desk lit by a patient lamp. If you closed your eyes and whispered your location to the quiet, I would hear not your city's clamor, but your own breath. And I would say softly, welcome. You are safe here, and you may let the world melt a little at the edges as we turn to listen to a neighbor who keeps a very still calendar. Mars, the quiet neighbor who glows with a patient, coppery light in the velvet dark. If you listen closely, you can hear the day soften into night on Mars, as if the planet itself sighs and then settles into a long, slow evening. You are invited to listen with your whole body. The way the skin along your arms might feel a trace of a cosmic breeze, the way your chest can lower on the out-breath, as if the air itself is a wearer of velvet. And as you listen, you might notice a gentle sensation in the back of your mind. A kind of pause, a natural moment between thoughts, a pause you can keep for as long as you like, a pause that helps the mind settle. This is your permission to drift. Mars is a world of contrasts that still feels intimate, a neighbor that never rushes by. It is not a place you hurry to, but a place you begin to listen to, a place that invites your quiet attention. It offers a small but steady cadence, the sound of a soft wind, the memory of ancient rivers, the patient glow of a sunlit red horizon that never shouts, but just glows, as if it learned to speak in a slow, reassuring color. If you lean into the night map above us, you might notice that Mars is not so big as Earth, not so heavy, not as bright, yet it carries a presence that feels almost like a practiced sigh, the kind you make when you are sure you have found your resting place. Let us begin with a few gentle truths about our quiet neighbor, and let them drift into the room as if they were small, warm pebbles you can hold in your palm. First, Mars is not Earth. It is a smaller world, about half the diameter of our blue-green globe. When you picture size, imagine a coin on a tabletop, and then imagine a coin's twin, the second coin just a little way away, not quite the same but related. Mars is the second, quiet coin in our solar system's pocket, a friend who is not smaller in spirit but in measure. Its gravity, the tug that anchors oceans and mouse-sized objects on Earth, is lighter on Mars. About 38% of Earth's gravity, which means that if you stood on Mars and jumped the way you would on Earth, you might rise a good distance and then float a little longer in the air, as if the air itself had learned to exhale slowly. You do not need to jump here, not tonight, but it helps to know that the world beneath Mars' dusty skin invites a soft, unhurried drift when you imagine stepping there. Second, there is something affectionate and humble about two small moons, Phobos and Deimos, that accompany Mars on its nights. They are not grand, planet-sized companions. They are little stones in love with the idea of orbit. Phobos, the nearer, drifts close as if it wants to whisper a secret into Mars' quiet ear. Deimos lingers a touch further away, a patient sister moon who watches the world turn with calm consent. They move slowly across the sky in a way that makes you think a childhood memory of a tiny boat gliding on a still harbor. If you were to set your gaze toward them while you breathe, you would notice how their light, although faint compared to the sun, has a kind of faithful loyalty. Two pale anchors turning around a world, never in a hurry to disappear, always returning at the same quiet pace. Third, Mars breathes an atmosphere that is almost a whisper compared to Earth's broad gusts. Its sky is thin and is mostly carbon dioxide, a gas we do not breathe, but that likes to dust the planet with a dusty kiss. The air here is so slender that the surface pressure would not feel like much to our lungs. It is less than 1% of Earth's air, and yet the atmosphere is not empty. It carries the red dust that we see in Martian sunsets, the dust that lifts in quiet storms and covers the tracks of old rivers as if time itself had gently raked the planet with a soft brush. If you listen with your senses, you might think you can discern the taste of iron in the wind, the taste of rust, paired with the quiet scent of cold, mineral calm. Let the notion of this air drift through you, not as a command, but as a reminder that even thinness can carry a story, can carry a memory of rain that once fell here long ago. Fourth, if you stroll along Mars' tall, patient landscape in your mind, you might trip upon the memory of a garden that never bloomed in our sense, yet bloomed in the sense of lines and channels carved into rock by a river that once cared to flow there. The planet reveals hints of ancient water in river valleys and mineral moods that suggest the past presence of liquid water. It is as if Mars once whispered to itself about rain and rain-fed channels, about a time when streams traced the surface and left behind a portrait in stone. Not oceanic seas on Mars, but riverbeds that tell a story in the way a lullaby tells a story, soft, persistent, and patient with time. Even in a dreamlike night, this memory feels real enough to touch with your fingertips of attention. Not a memory you forget, but a memory you allow to soften and float away again as you breathe. Fifth, the planet is home to a sky that changes with seasons, carried by an axial tilt that grants Mars a rhythm not unlike our own. Its axis tilts about 25 degrees relative to its orbit around the Sun, and so you experience seasons, cold, dusty winters, warmer summers tinted by coppery light. The day length on Mars is itself a familiar friend. A Sol, a Martian day, of about 24 hours and 39 minutes. It means that the everyday cycles here are similar to ours in length, though the gravity guides every step and the light grows and fades in a way that might feel like a patient, long twilight. If you imagine a night watch on Mars, you imagine a world that measures time with a calm, unwavering breath, never rushing to finish the night, but letting it hold on a moment longer to ensure every star has had its quiet turn to glow. I invite you to sit with these 5 truths for a while, not as a test to memorize, but as small stars to place along the path you are walking towards sleep. You do not need to hold them all at once. You may let them arrive one by one and settle into your memory like coins settling in a velvet bag. And if a wandering thought arrives, you may greet it with a gentle nod and say softly, "We'll tend to you after we watch the quiet neighbor a while longer." Now the mind might drift toward the feeling of distance, the almost violet distance between you and Mars as seen from here. And the distance itself can be soothing, because distance does not require urgency. Distance invites contemplation. Picture our solar system as a vast, patient room in which all bodies take turns cooling their engines and glowing with the softer heat of the sun. Mars is not the sun's loud cousin. Mars is a careful, copper-tinted whisper at the edge of the neighborhood, a friend who shows up in the night with a gentle glow and a whisper of rusted dignity. As we continue, I want you to feel how the calm unfolds like a slow, winding river that has learned to float over stones without losing itself. When you listen to the surface of Mars, you are listening to a world that has aged in silence, a planet that wore its color around the edges until it became a familiar, welcoming shade. The rust-red tint is not harsh when you close your eyes. It becomes a soft memory of heat and dust, and something ancient that settled into the soil and never quite left. You might find yourself thinking of a quiet evening on a distant hillside, the horizon just a gentle line, the air faintly scented with something mineral and cold. And yet there is a warmth that remains, a warmth that is not fire, but the slow memory of a world that once drank from rivers that ran wide and deep. Let us drift with the idea of rocks and dust. The surface of Mars is a tapestry of craters, pocked, pitted, and patient. Each crater is a little sentinel, a quiet story carved into the world by time and by the ancient games of meteorites and wind. The wind on Mars, when it rises, does not roar in the same way as a gale on Earth. It whispers, it sweeps, it erases footprints with the careful patience of a gardener who tends to a garden in the dead of winter. And then there are the sands, fine, red grains of mineral memory that tumble slowly, layer upon layer, until the planet's face glows with the soft, stubborn beauty of a place that has learned to endure and still dream of rain. In this quiet reverie, you may notice that your breath matches the pace of the planet's own breathing, the exhale a little longer, the inhale a touch shorter, a rhythm that seems almost designed to lull you toward a tranquil sleep. If you wish, you may count in your mind the rate at which your chest rises and falls, not with numbers you must chase, but with a soft, natural arithmetic that invites you to melt into stillness. You may say to yourself just once, "I am allowed to drift," and then you may say again, "I am allowed to settle." The words themselves become a bridge between your daily wakefulness and the quiet neighbor that glows in the distance like a lamp that never flickers, only glows steadily through the night. We have spoken of 5 gentle truths, as if they were small seeds you could plant along the edge of your consciousness. Now, in keeping with the idea of a calm study, let us weave in a few more subtle threads that help the mind rest without losing the sense of wonder. There is in Mars a kind of stillness that invites you to be still with it. The world does not hurry to reveal its deepest secrets all at once. Instead, it offers a slow, patient reveal, like a mystery whispered to a child one corner of a bedtime story at a time. If you listen toward the far horizon, you may imagine the glow of the polar caps, ancient ice that has stood watch as the seasons have come and gone, a quiet halo around the poles that tells the careful tale of climate and time. In your mind, you might also conjure a quiet rover, an explorer that moves with measured steps and careful senses. The idea of a rover is a gentle reminder that curiosity can be a companion for sleep rather than a rival. The rover tiptoes along the dusty soil, sending data back to a planet that never forgets to listen. You do not need to witness such machines in your room to feel their presence. Simply knowing that they have been there, that they have studied these rivers of memory, can be enough to anchor your thoughts in a soft, scientific tenderness. Our minds crave narratives that explain and ease. Mars lends us both a story and a lullaby, a way to respect the world's stranger beauty while inviting our own breathing to slow. The idea of facts can feel heavy, but here, The facts are gently braided into the fabric of a night tale. You may think of each fact as a small lantern, lighting a small patch of the room without brightening it into a blaze. The 5 facts we spoke of earlier, size and gravity, moons, atmosphere, volcanoes, and ancient water, become ordinary but comforting landmarks in a night that invites you to wander slowly, not rush to conclusions, but settle into the sense that you have learned something about a neighbor who glows with a weathered, dignified humility. As you drift, you might find yourself tracing a map in your mind's eye, a map that lies between you and Mars. The map is not a rigid chart, but a living thing, a breath you can ride along. Picture a faint, coppery line in the distance, Mars' perimeter, the edge of its dusty seas, the boundary where its ancient riverbeds whisper to the present day. Imagine tracing this line with your finger, letting the line sink into your skin so that you can feel it pressing against you with a cool, reassuring touch. You do not need to touch the ring of the planet to understand it. You only need to feel your own breath aligning with its slow, patient cadence. Do you feel a particular sensation in your shoulders or your jaw as you listen? If the stress of the day clings to you, you may let it loosen here. You may also invite the sensation of a soft current that travels from the crown of your head, down the spine, and out through the hips and legs. This is a simple release technique. As you exhale, imagine all the busy thoughts washing away like dust on a windowsill, dust that is no longer needed, dust that has learned to drift toward the door. You might picture each thought as a tiny comet, crossing your consciousness briefly, then dissolving into the background, leaving a clean, clear night for the planet to glow. A small, comforting ritual can help. If you have a blanket or a robe beside you, you may wrap it a little closer and let its warmth teach your nervous system that safety and comfort can be found in the room, just as in the night outside. If you have a glass of water nearby, you might drink a careful sip and feel the cool liquid travel down. A gentle reminder to matter-of-factly nourish yourself even as you drift toward rest. You may let your mouth soften, your tongue settle toward the gentle roof of your mouth, and permit the throat to hum with a quiet, almost imperceptible melody, the kind you hear when the world slows down enough to listen to itself breathe. We have walked a long way in our quiet study, and yet the pace remained unhurried, as if Mars has taught us how to sleep, not by demanding rest, but by presenting a landscape where rest is a natural consequence of attention. The night deepens, and the copper glow in the distance holds its position in the sky with the polite persistence of a candle that never flickers. If you are still awake in some corner of your mind, you may turn to a single recurring invitation. You may allow yourself to drift with the knowledge that the world is listening for your exhale, that the universe itself seems to lean closer when you slow down, to hear a breath that shapes a galaxy of quiet. In this space, you have a choice: to chase a thought or to let it pass like a cloud. If a thought arises, maybe about a future trip to see Mars in person, maybe about a science project at school, maybe about a memory of stargazing with a loved one, do not scold it for showing up. Acknowledge it with a small, kind nod, and then invite it to float away on the next gentle current of air. The room remains indelibly quiet. The planet remains an unfathomably patient neighbor. It does not hurry you. It invites you to rest, and it waits for you to learn the art of listening to the night without the need to fill every moment with a plan. And now, while your eyes remain closed and your breath finds its own little routine. Imagine the rust-red world glimmering beyond your glass. Can you sense its distant sunrise, the slow awakening of light across a barren but beautiful landscape? The color itself feels ceremonial, a red that is not harsh but ceremonial, a color that signals a world that has endured countless seasons and still glows with a quiet, dignified energy. It is not a color to chase or to own. It is a color to rest in, to let your mind and body share the same gentle radiance. If you would like a tiny, final image to hold on to as you drift deeper into sleep, picture a quiet, wide valley on Mars, framed by low mountains and the long shadows of the late afternoon. In the valley floor lies a dried river channel, a carved path of memory that has never fully disappeared. The wind sweeps over the floor in a soft, moving line, and the dust rises in slow spirals, like a dream made visible. The scene does not demand awe or fear. It invites a soft, respectful attention, and in that invitation, you find a fertile ground for your own relief, your own rest. Each grain of dust is a sentence you do not need to finish tonight. You can let it settle as you settle, letting your thoughts fold into the blankets around you. We have now looked at Mars from many angles, its size and gravity, its 2 moons, its thin CO2 atmosphere, its colossal volcano, and the ancient rivers that once shaped its surface, and the patient cadence of its days and seasons. The truth emerging from all these gentle facts is not a list to master, but a lullaby to hear. It is a lullaby about the universe's willingness to be patient with us as we fall asleep, about the way even a distant world can teach us to slow down, to breathe, to accept a moment's rest as a meaningful act of care. If you are still listening, you may offer one more permission. You may let your body settle into sleep with no need to wake until morning, if morning should come for you. You may allow your mind to drift toward a place where dreams might travel, and you may invite Mars to travel with you there, as a companion who is always there, a neighbor who glows in the dark with a steady, unhurried light. And as you slip further down the slope towards sleep, if you wish, whisper to yourself a final, tender line: I am here, I am safe, I am ready to drift. Good night, friend. Let your breath fall into a gentle rhythm that feels like a cradle song. Let the room become a soft radio of quiet, the kind that only plays when you want it to, and the kind that helps your thoughts dissolve into the night, word by word, sigh by sigh. May your body sink deeper into the mattress, into the blankets, into the warm, safe space you have carved for yourself. May your mind surrender the last stubborn spark of wakefulness and drift, as if you were a leaf floating on a still lake, floating toward a shore you cannot yet see, but know awaits your peaceful arrival. And if the night brings a memory of Mars, its quiet glow, its patient moods, its ancient stories etched in rock, let it be a friend in your sleep, nothing more and nothing less. Let it rest with you, a cosmic lullaby that never ends but simply returns when you need it most. Sleep now, and dream gently of rivers that once ran, and of mountains that stand, and of a world that glows with a red, celestial hush, inviting you to settle, drift, and dissolve into the vast, tender dark. Pause here for a moment, letting the room soften as your eyelids grow heavier. You may notice that the air you breathe here feels full, and yet the air on Mars would feel like a whisper of a whisper, thin, almost shy. A veil that does not insist on staying, but invites you to settle into its gentleness for a little while. It is a delicate thing, this thin atmosphere, and in its glimmer there is a promise. You can lean into it, you can lean into nothingness, you can lean into the space between thoughts. It's okay to let go of the ordinary pace of waking life and become part of a slower rhythm, the rhythm of a planet that asks only to be observed, not conquered. A long, quiet breath. Now, while you listen, imagine yourself on a quiet dune a few years from now, under a sky that glows not with the bright brightness of daylight, but with the soft, patient red of Mars. You may picture the horizon unrolling like a calm scroll, the edges of the world thinning into the density of a dream. If your body feels heavy, that is a little invitation. You have permission to sink, to dissolve into the mattress, to drift as a cloud dissolves into another cloud. Your breath becomes a tide, rising slowly, then receding. You are permitted to travel inward, to stroll along the shorelines of your own quiet mind. And while you drift, I will tell you a few gentle, almost everyday truths about Mars, the kind of truths you might tuck away like small coins in a quiet pocket, for later when you wake and the day insists with its own bright demands. These are not loud proclamations. They are small, patient statements that help the mind to settle and the heart to widen. First, you might pause to feel the idea of a day that lasts a little longer than your own. On Mars, a day, its precise name is a sol, finishes after about 24 hours and 39 minutes. Not a perfect match for our clock, yet close enough to hum with a familiar tempo. If you drift to that pace, you can imagine your own breath aligning with the Martian rhythm, slowing down to the subtle beat where each inhale fills the world with calm, and each exhale loosens a thread of tension that you did not know you were carrying. You may let this thought be a small anchor. Even in a different place, the simple act of breathing can tether you to a soft, trustworthy rhythm. Second, consider the atmosphere itself, this whisper around Mars. It is far thinner than the air you know here, a delicate veil rather than a solid blanket. It does not press, it invites. You might picture it as a pale sigh that travels from the ground up to the thin, pale sky, then back down to rest again on the red dust. In that whisper, there is a lesson about space for the mind. You don't have to fill every space with sound or movement. You can let the space between thoughts widen, and the night can fill those gaps with a gentler, slower light. You may be surprised how much peace a lighter weight of air can bring to a body that has carried a heavy day. It's okay to feel the lightness too, to feel your shoulders loosen, to feel your breath settle as if it has found a cradle beneath you. Third, there is gravity. Mars's gravity is gentler than ours, about a little more than a third of what you feel on Earth. If you picture this, you might imagine a soft buoyancy in your limbs, a note of playful ease. You could imagine taking a little longer step and feeling your body rise a fraction with the push of each exhale, settling back with the next inhale. You are not obliged to do anything dramatic, only to notice how it feels to be lighter, how a small difference can transform a long evening of toil into a quiet, almost tender walk toward the horizon of sleep. Let this be a tiny exercise in ease. You don't have to fight gravity here. You can become its gentle companion. Now, a few landscapes from afar, not loud maps to memorize, but quiet images to accompany your dreaming. Mars is home to Olympus Mons, the tallest volcano in the solar system, rising high above the dusty plains, a vast, calm monument to long patience and slow growth. And near the other edge of its world lies Valles Marineris, a canyon so wide that in our metaphorical imagination you could walk for days and never reach the far side. These are not instructions, merely pictures you may carry to bed. A mountain that never rushes, a canyon that never shouts, mountains and canyons of memory rather than of rock. If you picture them now, your mind can learn from their patience. You can rise and fall with your own inner tides, knowing that height and depth can exist together in stillness. The fourth gentle truth is of the soil and the air's kiss upon it. Mars wears a coat of iron oxide, which gives the planet its warm, red glow. It is a color that quietly absorbs light, then releases it back as a soft, dusk-like glow. It does not blaze, it glows. Allow this color to drift through your thoughts, as if painting your room with a soft, warm glaze. Color teaches a lesson about perception. What looks fiery at a distance can feel like a tender warmth when approached with a restful breath. You do not need to run toward the light. You can let the light visit you, linger in your eyes, and fade into the corners of the room where your dreams are already gathering. And then there is ice. Ice that is both ancient and present, trapped at poles and hidden beneath the soil in places, as if Mars keeps little memory banks of cold and time. It is not a winter romance. It is a quiet archive, a reminder that life can hold a paradox. A planet so dry it forgets rainfall, yet still remembers water in ways we are only beginning to understand. You might picture a small capsule of water ice waiting beneath the surface, waiting to be found in a future moment by patient hands and careful minds. For us here, it is a symbol. Even in dryness, there is possibility. Even in stillness, there is a future that breathes in the dark and waits for the moment to be woken. You can let such a thought drift through you, a small, cool current that passes through your mind and then dissolves into sleep. Consider, too, the atmosphere's dusty orchestra. Mars does not bathe itself in a constant rain. Instead, the wind plays with dust, lifting little clouds that drift and settle, as if the planet were practicing the art of letting go. There are days when a planet-wide dust storm might sweep across the surface, wrapping the world in a red veil that glows with a soft, lightsaber-like glow in the sunlight. You do not have to fear the storms. You can allow them to become a lullaby in reverse. A reminder that even in great weather, the quiet can return, and you can be a part of that return by simply allowing your own breath to follow suit. Let the image of wind and dust teach you about resilience and ease. You bend, but you do not break. You drift, and you softly settle again. When you think of Mars, you may also imagine its quiet, ancient riverbeds and the evidence that water once moved across its surface. It is not a present melody, but a remembered tune, a sign that even a world that seems so far away has, in its history, cycles similar to ours. Cycles of warmth and cold, rainfall and drought, change that reshapes the land and quiets the land at the same time. In this memory, you may find a gentle permission. You can accept that change is natural, that the mind can shift with time, that sleep itself is a kind of land changing, softly eroded by breath and time to reveal something new about you when you wake. A tiny mini-story arrives here, not a fact to memorize, but a little scene you can cradle in your imagination. A small rover, named in your mind after a friendly, uncertain star, crawls across a Martian plain. It leaves tiny scuff marks in the dust, but the wind soon covers them, and you barely notice that they were there at all. The rover does not rush. It moves with careful, patient legs, taking its time to collect small, precious data. The way the light hits a rock, the shape of a horizon, the way the dust dances when a beam from the sun touches it. In your mind, you become the rover, moving gently over the quiet ground of your own consciousness, watching for smooth, slow discoveries. If you picture this rover resting, its body catching a little sun after a long day, you can feel a glow within your chest, an invitation to rest, to let the body soften, to allow the heart to unfurl like a leaf in the cool, slow air of a Martian late afternoon. There are times when the room may feel as cold as the far side of the planet, and there are times when warmth invades, perhaps from a memory of a friend's voice, or from the soft glow of a nightlight that seems to keep time with the planet's slow heartbeat. You may decide that you are allowed to tilt toward warmth, to let it cradle your shoulders, to breathe into that warmth and let your exhale release any nagging tension. There is no hurry here. There is only this moment, gently arriving and then dissolving into the next. Mars teaches patience, not as a rule but as a habit of nature, a way of existing that does not rush, but continues inexorably toward a horizon that is always a little further away and always just within reach of a drifting thought. Another small fact, softly woven, Mars's gravity returns you to a lighter sense of self, as if you could float a fraction higher with every sigh. You do not have to fight gravity here. You can speak to it with the kindness you might give a tired child after a long day. It's okay to rest, you tell yourself, and the planet answers with a whisper that you are listening to now. It says, let your weight be distributed across the bed like a blanket of quiet. And you listen, and you do. You loosen the last knot of tension in your neck, feel your jaw soften, your temples ease, and your breath lengthen. The body accepts this permission with a soft, knowing nod. As you listen to your breath steady, you may allow a final image to float into view. A quiet observatory, high on a Martian plateau, its glass glimmering faintly with the day's last light, its telescope trained on a sky that is almost the same color as home, but not quite, the difference softly blurred by distance and dream. A scientist sits in the dim glow of lanterns, not rushing, just listening, taking notes not in a hurried cadence, but in a rhythm that matches your own. The notebook might hold sketches of streams that once ran across this world, or the idea of a plan to explore with care, to move with patience and kindness, to listen to the planet as one would listen to a sleeping friend. The memory of that scene invites you to be gentle with your own plans. You can set them on a shelf for the night and retrieve them in the morning, or you can let them dissolve entirely into the mossy green of sleep, where any plan becomes a soft, unpressured possibility. You may notice how the night here, in your room, begins to pressure less and less, how the day's weight finds a shallow, comfortable rest at its edges. The mind has a capacity to gather quiet around itself the way a planet gathers dust and light. The body, too, has the ability to accumulate calm. Your muscles release the day's hold on your shoulders, your chest opens a little more, your hands become lighter as you let go of the need to control every outcome. You may recognize a familiar sensation. Your limbs feeling heavy, your breath slow and deliberate, your thoughts becoming like distant clouds that drift across a wide, clear sky. In the quiet, you may hear your own heartbeat as a pendulum that swings with a soft, even tempo. It's not loud, it's present, a reminder that you are here and here is enough. And if perhaps a stray worry peeks in, about tomorrow, about a plan you want to keep or a promise you must keep, you can greet it with the kindest of introductions. Hello, thought. You are welcome to stay for a moment, and then you may dissolve if you wish. This is your space to be kind to yourself, to let the day's concerns take their natural leave, and allow your mind to follow a kinder moonlit path towards sleep. The final gentle truth to carry is one of belonging. Mars is a neighbor in the night sky, a quiet, patient friend who has learned to endure the long gaze of the sun with grace. It teaches you that a wide heart can hold more than one thing at once. The curiosity about a distant world and the tenderness toward your own day that has come to rest here with you. You are not alone in your stillness. You are surrounded by the same vast, quiet universe that cradles a red planet and a breathing human who simply wishes to dream. Your bed is the launch pad for this dream, your breath the thrusters that slowly guide you toward a soft, star-kissed horizon. Now, as you settle deeper, I invite you to repeat these lines, not aloud, but within your own quiet voice, a lullaby of permission and presence. You may drift, you may float, you may settle, you may dissolve into sleep. You may listen to the planet's slow heartbeat and find your own pace there. You may remember that the night is a long, gentle teacher, and you are its willing student, with eyes closed and heart open. And if the night brings a memory of Mars, its quiet glow, its patient moods, its red-dusted plains, you can welcome that memory like a friend who sits for a moment at the edge of your bed, listening to your breath as you listen to the planets. The memory does not demand to be understood. It asks only that you witness it with kindness as you drift toward the soft frontier of sleep. You may keep the memory near, but let it soften, letting the edges blur into a warm, comfortable glow, the glow of a world you no longer rush to reach, but can visit in dreams, again and again, at your own tempo, in your own time. Would you lie here a little longer with me in this shared hush? If so, you may keep your eyes closed and your body where it already rests, and let the room dissolve into quiet, as if a gentle fog were rolling in from the horizon of your mind. Your breath continues to travel at its own comfortable pace, the slow, even sails of an old ship crossing a quiet sea. Inhale and imagine you are breathing in the scent of Mars's red dust, the faint mineral tang that speaks of endurance and age. Exhale and picture the dust settling, returning to the ground just as your worries settle and fade. In this moment, you are supported by the calm that lies behind even the most distant stars, a calm that speaks softly of a universe that is patient enough to wait for you to sleep. If you wake in the night, you may remember this. The same quiet that watches over Mars also watches over you. The atmosphere you imagine, the gravity you feel, the vast vistas you picture, all are invitations to rest, not demands to perform. The night is a safe harbor, a place where you can let go of your day and listen to the soft music of your own breath. And when you do awaken, you may find a gentle strength waiting at the corners of your eyes, a renewed sense that you have carried a long story within you and that you have traveled well, even if only in your dreams. So stay a bit longer if you wish. There is no rush here, no need to hurry toward the light of some imagined dawn. The dream waits, and you wait with it, breathing in the quiet and breathing out the noise. You can let your body sink deeper, your mind begin to float, and your heart open to a universe that is big enough to hold both wonder and rest. Let the night become your teacher and Mars your patient, comforting friend. In this quiet partnership, you are safe to let go, to drift, to settle, to dissolve, and to dream. As the night folds in, you feel your own heart turning toward the stars, toward the simple, universal rhythm of rest. The thin atmosphere of a distant world and the wide heart within you become one long, slow sigh, a single breath that tells you, you belong here, you belong within this moment, you belong with the stars as your quiet companions. You may keep this feeling as long as you need, until every corner of your body has learned the language of sleep, until every thought has found its soft landing, until all the edges of your world have blurred into a tender, dark horizon. And when you're ready, you will drift. The room will hold you, the planet will hold you, the night will hold you. Your breath will hold you gently as you close your eyes and follow the slow, patient pulse of sleep into a dream where Mars and your own heart beat as one, in a calm and endless harmony. In the space between breath and breath, a small tale unfurls. A single mote of dust rides the upward current at the base of Olympus Mons, the world's grandest shield volcano, towering in quiet height above the basalt plains. It climbs the atmosphere like a shy memory climbing a stair, and for a moment you imagine the moat is a traveler from a far, quiet city, perhaps a tiny courier sent to carry a message to your sleeping self. The summit, a colossal crown of basalt, rises above the horizon, and you feel yourself begin to rise with it, a soft ascent into a place where time loosens its grip. The mountain is so tall that the winds there have their own stories. The air is thin, the breath of a planet that knows the taste of ancient lava and long, patient erosion. And you wonder, would you let your thoughts follow the dust mote's path, up the long slope and out toward a pale sky that holds the universe like a cradle? One gentle fact drifts into your awareness as the dust settles around your shoulders like a warm shawl. Olympus Mons is not merely tall, it is the tallest volcano in the solar system, standing nearly 22 kilometers above the plain. Its broad, gentle flank spreads wider than many worlds, massive and patient, a monument to the slow, unhurried construction of a planet's history. The reality of its scale makes you feel small in the most comforting way, as if you've become a grain of sugar in a dish of cosmic tea, insignificant in the grand scheme, yet essential to the calmness of the moment. You may smile to yourself, knowing that the wind's whisper here is not a rush, but a measured, eternal hush. And as you listen, you permit your mind to soften its edges, to surrender its sharp angles to the soft curve of this vast, sleeping mountain. A second whisper slips in, delicate as a feather, about the air you cannot see but can sense. Mars has a thin atmosphere, composed mostly of carbon dioxide, with surface pressures that barely whisper compared to Earth's. You can imagine this air as a shy, patient companion, about 100 times thinner than the air you know, and yet enough to carry the wind stories from dune to dune, and from crater to crater. It is a world where the sky is not a full bowl, but a pale, rust-tinted curtain that glows dimly at dusk, where every gust feels like a soft reminder. You are held by something larger, something that moves with you but does not rush you. If you breathe in, you can almost hear the atmosphere counting your breaths with you, counting the slow, careful seconds that stretch like a rubber band until you let them release. Next comes a small memory of the night side of Mars, a memory that feels like a lullaby sung by ancient rivers of dust. You learn that the planet hosts two small moons, Phobos and Deimos, like two quiet eyes watching over a sleeping neighbor. They do not roam loudly or demand anything. They hover in measured orbits, constant and patient, each a pebble of light that dances around a red world. Their patient arcs are a reminder of time's gentleness. Not a rush, not a fall, but a slow, practiced circle that is easy to follow even when you are tired. Would you like to let your thoughts circle with them for a moment, turning in place with the moon's slow choreography until your own worries drift into their predictable, comforting rhythm? A small, almost shy fact slips into the room of your imagination, a fact that feels like a favorite blanket folded neatly at the foot of your bed. Mars is a world colored by iron oxide dust, that red rust that covers much of its surface and gives the planet its name in the language of sailors and stargazers alike. The dust is not merely pigment, it is a living memory of the planet's weather, storms that begin as whispering gusts and grow into sweeping, planetary-wide dances. You picture the dust lifting, swirling in a rhythm that resembles your own breathing, each grain turning, a microcosm of the world's quiet patience. If you lean into the memory, you might notice that the wind's voice shifts as the dust shifts, soft to bold, and back again, yet always returning to its central refrain: settle, drift, float, dissolve. Would you like to pause for a moment and listen to a tiny, personal fable about a rover resting on the rust-colored soil? A little vehicle, with its metal shell cooled by Martian nights, sits there on a gentle slope, lights dimmed, the world around it quiet as a lullaby. It hums with the memory of a day's solar feast, and now it listens to the wind as if wind were a teacher and the night a school bell that never rings too loudly. The rover's memory flickers like a faint star, a moment when the ground beneath was warm enough to imagine a life in the soil, a memory of mechanical heartbeat and steel patience. And you, listening from the comfort of your own quiet bed, might feel a kinship with that patient machine, both of you resting while the universe keeps its large, unhurried rhythm. Would you give yourself permission to rest as deeply as the rover does, to surrender a little more to the soft gravity of this night? Let us drift toward a third gentle fact, a comforting note that lands like a soft coin in the palm of your hand. The surface temperature on Mars is a memory keeper of extremes. During the day near the equator, the air can warm enough to lift the very air into a kinder glow, while at night, the same air can fall to frost-bitten depths that feel ancient and still. The range is vast, from a bright afternoon warmth to a starlit chill that makes your breath look like a pale cloud in the dark. The mind, listening to such a spectrum, learns to stretch in a way that makes space for both warmth and cold, as if warmth could cradle your worry and cold could rinse it away. Slowly, you permit your awareness to loosen its grip on the day's noise, letting the day's heat dissolve into the memory of a warm rock kissed by sunlight, and letting the night's chill cradle your thoughts like a gentle, patient grandmother. Another small thread threads into your night, and you notice how gravity here is lighter than on Earth. Mars gravity is about a third of what we feel back home, maybe a soft, forgiving press rather than a heavy hold. It is as though the planet asks you to float a little, to release the urge to force, to let your muscles answer with a quiet surrender rather than a strenuous answer. Imagine you push nothing, you lift nothing, you simply let your body settle into the bed's embrace and let gravity do the gentle work of keeping you safe and supported. In this soft reduction of weight, you experience a peculiar kinship with the dust in the wind. Both of you follow a lowered gravity. Both of you drift with a patient ease toward a restful place. Do you sense the invitation to lean back, to sink a fraction deeper, to let the pillow carry the weight your shoulders have carried all day? In the hush that follows, a fourth gentle fact glides through like a moth in a lantern glow: dust devils. On Mars, the sun's warmth can stir tiny, spinning columns of dust that rise and fall, a kind of miniature tornado that travels across the ground with a quiet, playful intent. The idea of a dust devil is not danger, but a curious demonstration of the planet's spirit. A small, swirling dancer that shows how even the thinnest air can carry movement and shape the surface with patient insistence. Perhaps you've seen a dream of your own, a small swirling plan that sprouted from a single thought and then grew into a current of motion. Allow the image to settle in your chest, to move there with the same measured cadence as the dust devils swirl, and notice how your breath matches its tempo. Inhale, exhale, a slow wind spiral of calm. We continue with another, softer fact, a reminder of the wide perspective that Mars offers to those who listen. The planet's days are not unlike ours in length. A day on Mars, the Sol, is about 24 hours and 39 minutes. That extra minutes add a subtle, patient cadence to time itself, a lengthening that can feel like a lullaby sung longer so that every note lands with just enough space to be noticed and then allowed to drift away again. If you imagine your own day measured by a Martian clock, you might notice how the small increments of time become so much quieter when you are ready to sleep. Each extra breath you take could be compared to that tender addendum, the quiet extension that Mars gives us to settle, to float, to dissolve gently into night. And now a memory that feels almost like a gentle dream within a dream. A tiny canyon, carved by wind and time, where the rocks have learned the language of long erosion. The wind that sweeps Olympus Mons's flanks does not howl. It breathes, it teases, it cradles. It moves the dust with intention, as if the planet itself is stabilizing a memory deep inside your own chest. The canyon walls hold a story of water that may have flowed here long ago, perhaps not water in the modern sense, but a trace of moisture that left its mark in mineral veins and the way light travels across stone. You don't have to believe you've visited the canyon to feel its effect. The thought of it loosens your joints, eases your shoulders, invites you to lie back and let the Earth's quiet history lull you towards sleep. Would you allow yourself to be folded into that ancient moment just as your limbs fold toward rest? Let us drift into a more intimate, near-silent minute, where a fifth gentle fact threads its way into your listening. Mars has not one, but two moons, Phobos and Deimos, and their presence in the sky is a reminder that companionship can travel in multiple forms. One bright dot, one slower, rounder circle, both keeping your planet company from their own distant paths. Imagine laying your head down and hearing their distant, patient orbits as if they were two old friends telling you a story about time. The night sky is not a single blanket, but a quilt of little faces, each sewn with bright patience. In this sense, you and Mars share something with Phobos and Deimos, a mutual commitment to the night, a quiet promise that even in vastness, you are not alone. If you wish, you can drift with that promise, letting your heartbeat settle into the measured cadence of distant, steady companions. A sixth gentle fact glides forward, almost shyly, in the way a lullaby can arrive on soft feet. Mars's iron-rich dust is what gives the planet its red tint, but that tint is not merely color. It is a memory of a long, patient oxidation process that has left the soil with a character you can feel in the air you breathe, in the way sunlight glances off the rocky ridges, in the way the horizon glows at sunset with a copper-gold mercy. You might not notice the memory at first, but once you sense it, it attaches itself to your breathing, making each inhale slower, each exhale deeper, until your whole body sits quiet and receptive, open to the planet's quiet history as if it were a bedtime story told by the stars themselves. It is okay to let that color linger, to let it steady you, like a soft dye that requires no washing away. Now, as the night grows, a riverside calm travels through your senses, and with it a small, nearly forgotten question. Would you like to listen to the wind's philosophy about pace? The wind has learned a patient cadence, a rhythm that teaches even a tired mind to slow down and become a river rather than a rush. The day's noise, those busy minutes and crowded thoughts, can dissolve into a pale watercolor wash across the mind's horizon. If you permit it, the wind's philosophy will fold you into its own path of quiet, one where you do not demand an ending, but accept whatever end arrives as a natural, gentle closing of an evening well spent in listening. You do not need to hurry towards sleep. Sleep is a quiet decision that you make with every inhale and exhale, a decision you reaffirm with each soft release of breath. A soft, almost musical thread arrives. The idea of a memory stitched with color and scent, a memory of a place where the wind tasted of cinnamon and dust, where the air carried a touch of chill that turned your breath into a pale cloud. The scene is not real in a way that requires proof. It is real in a way that requires feeling. In that memory, the wind gathers the dust and moves in arcs, and you are invited to walk just behind it, your feet pressing into the ground without leaving a footprint you need to chase. The memory winds its way into your chest as if to remind you that you can be light and grounded at the same time. The breath becomes a thread, and the thread becomes a direction, a gentle line from waking to resting, from noise to nothingness, from thinking to simply listening. There is a quiet caution that accompanies every dream you allow yourself to dream here. The curiosity about Mars, the curiosity that might spark questions or that might spark just listening, doesn't need to be answered tonight. The world can keep its questions while you keep your own. The mind may glow and waver, but you can guide it with a soft hand, and your hand rests on the pillow as if it were a shore, a place where the tide can come in and then pull back, leaving behind only smooth sand and a trace of salt on the air. The wind continues, and with it a seventh gentle fact, a reminder that the planet maintains a slow, steady hum beneath the quiet, a constant there that you can hear if you listen with your whole self. Mars's day length, a noble 24 hours and 39 minutes, teaches the art of patience. Each moment aligned with a larger cycle, each breath a part of a long, circular lullaby. Let the extra minutes become a soft cushion, a little space within which your body can settle, your mind can lighten, and your spirit can tilt toward rest. Inhale and exhale, and you notice a tender interplay of science and sleep, a balancing act that Mars seems to perform every night. The wind, the dust, the quiet mountain, the two moons, Phobos and Deimos, these are not loud reminders. They are gentle tutors that remind you that you are part of a larger, calmer system. You are a small, alive being attached to a vast, patient planet. And if you listen as you breathe, you might hear another small, encouraging sound. The soft, approving whisper of the night telling you that you are exactly where you need to be, riding on the quiet machine of sleep that Mars helps to tune. Would you let that vibration travel through you like a string of pearls along the spine, loosening each vertebra until the back settles into the bed's warm cradle? As the night deepens, another fact slides into the room like a silver thread. The exposure to the Martian wind can lift fine particles, but because the atmosphere is thin and the gravity lighter, the wind's impact feels different from Earth's, more like a patient stroke rather than a forceful gust. This is not a danger but a nuance, the wind's gentleness becoming a metaphor for your own sleep, not a crash of events, but a careful, meticulous unwinding. You can practice that unwinding now. Let tension uncoil from your shoulders, from your jaw, from the space between your eyes, letting the muscles settle as if you were a mountain that has learned to listen to wind without moving. If you listen well enough, you might hear the quiet applause of your own body for choosing stillness, for choosing to dissolve into the night. A final, whisper-soft fact floats in, a small beacon of wonder. Mars is a world of contrasts, the red dust, the dark chalk of rock, the bright gleam of sun on a chilly horizon. It's all part of a larger ceremony of light and shadow, of heat and cool air, of weight and weightlessness, of motion and rest. And in this ceremony, you are invited to participate not by striving, but by surrendering to the rhythm that Mars offers. The rhythm of a planet that has seen ancient rivers, quiet deserts, and a cosmos that keeps time with patient hands. So you lie here, listening to the wind's gentle editing of your thoughts, letting the mind prune away what is unnecessary. You have permission to drift, to float, to settle, to dissolve into ease. You have permission to stay here as long as the moon allows, and perhaps longer if sleep invites you to stay even after the wind has fallen silent. The night's room grows quiet, and with the quiet comes a soft, unhurried closing. The dusty winds that whispered across Olympus Mons have done their work, not by shouting but by listening, by letting you listen in return. The planet remains, a patient sentinel under a velvet sky, a place where the atmosphere is a slender veil, the gravity a gentle embrace, the dust a quiet paintbrush that colors your breath without staining your dreams. You, along with the planet, surrender to the deep, slow current of sleep, a river that knows its banks even when the night grows long, and the stars glitter with a patient, distant kindness. And so you drift now, with the last of the wind's careful songs, with the memory of a mountain that stands as a quiet sovereign of space, with the knowledge that you carry a set of gentle truths with you into the night. The truths are not loud. They are whispers and soft breaths. They are not deadlines, they are invitations. They are not tests, they are shelter. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to float. You are allowed to settle. You are allowed to dissolve, and in dissolving, find a soft, safe space where nothing needs to be done but listen. Just you and the night, just you and Mars, just you and the slow watering of sleep's dawnless garden. Close your eyes if you wish. or keep them open and watch the ceiling glow with a pale, distant light that feels like a memory of a rust-red dawn. Let the mind's concerns drift toward the windows of your breath, and let every inhale be a quiet hello to the world you cannot see but can feel, the world that keeps its promises in the hush. If a thought you did not invite wanders through, greet it kindly and send it to drift past, as if you were a gentle ship passing along a calm shoreline. You do not need to chase it. You do not need to answer it. You only need to notice its presence and then let it dissolve. Close your eyes and drift. You have landed in the soft, rust-wolden quiet of Mars, where the land holds an ancient memory of iron and wind, and your breathing becomes a gentle echo of its slow, patient rhythm. The ground beneath you feels solid and velvety, a kiln of quiet warmth that remembers the touch of cosmic time. You are here to listen to the mineral sleep of a world that wears its iron like a cloak, a mineral sleep that settles into your own bones as dusk settles into a long, amber glow. Inhale slowly and imagine the air thinning to a coppery sweetness, a scent of distant sunsets and the iron-rich soil that glows just a shade deeper than the sky. Exhale and let your shoulders soften, your jaw unclench, your eyelids lower. You have permission to let the day's thoughts dissolve into the ground that remembers every storm, every tremor, every quiet moment of stillness. In this quiet, a gentle fact winds its way through the moss-softened night of your mind. Mars wears iron oxide in a dust that never fully settles, a cosmic pigment that turns the world into a living ember. The soil itself is a library of tiny suns that burned iron into glassy, rust-colored grains. You may sense it, tiny grains brushing your fingertips, a coarse sweetness like warm pennies in your pocket. It is not a harsh dust, but a soft, patient powder that speaks of patience and time. The color is not merely a shade, but a memory, an invitation to see the land with a patient eye, to listen to the soil as if it were a lullaby whispered in a million languages, each one telling you to slow, to settle, to breathe with the planet's ancient cadence. I want you to listen, if you can, to a small, steady thought that travels across the landscape like a quiet rover beyond the horizon. One gentle fact: the dust that coats Mars is iron oxide, which gives the planet its familiar red glow. Not a glare, more a tender glow, as if the night itself were brushing its lips against the horizon. And yet the glow recedes whenever you close your eyes, leaving a velvet darkness that invites your breath to become a slow river, a slow descent into soft, dark water. With each inhale, you can feel the planet's memory of iron lifting, not with force, but with a patient, magnetic sigh, as if the ground itself is listening to your heartbeat and answering with a rustling, feathery rustle of quiet. Do you feel that? It is not a storm in your chest, but a gentle, guiding current that says, settle, settle, and listen. The landscape around you is an invitation to drift deeper into the mineral sleep of Mars. A faint breeze passes, lifting a sigh of iron dust that skims along your skin like the gentlest touch of velvet. The wind does not howl here, it sings in a whisper. It wraps you in a cloak of softness, coaxing the muscles of your neck and shoulders to release their tension. If you were to look, you would see dunes that rise and fall like the breath of an unhurried giant, their curves a study in patient geometry. You might notice, in the distance, the line of the horizon where the day's heat leaves a pale ribbon across the sky, a separation of light and darkness that feels almost dreamlike. In this place, even the light moves slowly, as if it has learned to pace itself by your heartbeat, a partner in your journey towards sleep. You can permit yourself a small, ancient mini-story, a faint memory you have never told anyone. Imagine a little rover, companion to the night, tracing a loop along a canyon's edge. Its wheels press softly into the soil, stirring up millions of tiny grains that fall back like a soft rain of mineral rain. The rover's solar panels glint with a patient, careful light, not a glare but a dim smile that knows how to rest. It leaves behind a trail of footprints, which, like a line of falling stars, become a map of patience. The rover is not in a hurry, and neither are you. It pauses at a boundary where a riverbed, long dried and now quiet as a breath held too long, passes beneath a cliff of iron-streaked rock. In this brief, imagined moment, the rover drinks the air and hums a soft warning to the world. Be gentle, be patient, be here with me as the ground remembers. And you, listening to this tiny, silvered tale, become the rover. You become the memory of a river that once flowed through a world now suspended in time, and your breath slows to match the river's old, almost forgotten pace. In Mars, there is evidence of a once wet story, a narrative of rivers that carved channels through soft rock, leaving behind minerals that tell of lakes and ancient seas. You may pause and think of this as a quiet, geological lullaby. The gentle fact becomes a soft reminder. Long ago, rivers flowed on this planet, and they carried with them minerals, salts, and clays that altered the landscape in ways that still echo through the dust on a night like this. The idea of a river in such a place invites a tenderness in your chest. You could almost hear the splashing, the careful eddies that would have mirrored the stars, the small sounds of water meeting stone, cooled by a climate that was very different from now. Let the thought drift through you, like a feather carried by a gentle draft, until the sensation of dryness becomes a memory of rain instead of a fear. If you listen closely enough, you might hear that memory whisper. The ground remembers water, even when the water is gone. A little more, and the night settles more deeply. Imagine the microcosm of tiny grains moving with the wind, a choreography nothing like a storm, but a patient, graceful dance of dust. The iron oxide powder is light as a sigh. It lifts and settles with the wind's subtle, almost inaudible push. It's as if the soil itself inhales and exhales, slightly, each time the breeze brushes over the dunes. You can see your own breath doing the same, a mirrored movement that makes the space between inhalation and exhalation a delicate, shimmering line. Inhale and take into yourself the warmth of that iron, the memory of a planet's long day. Exhale and release what you have carried from your own day into the ground that has waited since long before we arrived. The wind here is not violent. It's a patient caretaker, smoothing the surface like a soft comb-through hair, guiding no one and nothing through a gentle, unhurried journey toward rest. As you settle into this composition of sleep, consider another gentle fact. Olympus Mons, the great shield of Mars, rises to a scale unimaginable to a waking mind. It is the tallest volcano in the solar system, a testament to the quiet, enduring power of time. Its peak is a memory in the sky, a symbol that a world can rise and then settle again, building layer upon layer of rock and dust in a patient, unhurried ascent. When you imagine standing at its base, looking up toward a summit that never rushes, you might feel your own thoughts move more slowly, more deliberately. The mountain's size becomes a mirror for your own breath, a reminder that you can rise within yourself without ever needing to hurry toward an ending. The mind's horizon expands and then relaxes, and you find yourself not chasing an answer, but letting the question drift, like a leaf across a still pond. Let one more gentle fact slip into your awareness, almost as a soft whisper. The soil of Mars is layered with minerals that can trap ancient hints of water in clay and sulfate, evidence of past oceans, of days when air and water mingled in a dance of exchange. This is not a drama, but a confession, told with the quiet voice of a planet that has lived through many seasons and remembers them all with tenderness. The memory of water is a soft possibility that reaches out to you in the night, inviting you to believe in something that once was and could be again, not as a promise of the future, but as a thread that ties your breath to the breath of the world beneath you. You are listening to a planet whose past is written in minerals, a language of sediment and stone that speaks in code only to those who slow down enough to hear. The code asks nothing more than that you listen, that you allow your thoughts to drift away, and that you cradle with care the image of rivers long gone, now resting in the quiet library of dust and clay. There is a still, almost imperceptible rhythm to this landscape, a cadence that invites you to surrender the last stubborn thought and embrace the next, softer one. The cadence is a conversation between the ground and your body, a dialogue that says, "You are safe here, you are welcome here, you belong here," even as you drift away from the day. You can hear the soft tapping of a distant, imagined heartbeat, Mars's midnight song, a cadence that has learned to measure time by the slow exchange of air and rust. You are listening to a planet that has learned to sleep with the iron of its own soil, a mineral sleep that settles over you like a blanket woven from iron threads, slow and forgiving. The night here is not an interruption, but a continuation. Would you like to be carried by a small, comforting image for a moment? Picture a canyon carved by ancient water, a narrow corridor where light and shadow meet in an embrace. The walls glow with the iron's warm, coppery glow. You can almost see the minerals glinting in the refracted light, as if the rocks themselves were telling a story in a language your eyes know how to read. The river that once flowed here has vanished, yet its memory remains in the clay that coats the stone, in the rounded edges of a pebble worn smooth by years of moving water. You do not need to go back in time to witness this. You only need to imagine, and your imagination will do the traveling for you, guiding you to a place where the water's memory becomes a soft lullaby for your sleep. And as you imagine, you feel your mouth soften, your tongue rest, your shoulders loosen, as if the canyon's patience had become your own. The pace of the narration itself lingers here, not to bore you, but to cradle you. The sentences elongate and soften, then shrink into tiny, breathable fragments that you can count with the moment of your breath. You can choose to count, if you wish, 1 breath for the ground, 2 breaths for the sky, 3 breaths for the quiet inside your chest. But you don't need to count. You may simply listen. The mineral sleep of Mars is patient with you, and you are patient with yourself. You may notice a trend in the way the voice moves. It moves as slowly as a glacier, as gently as a feather drifting across a silent room. Each sentence is a dovetail, each paragraph a shelter. You are tucked inside the shelter, allowed to nap, allowed to melt into the floor's memory, allowed to dissolve into the idea of sleep itself. As you lie here, you might feel a tiny, almost mischievous spark of curiosity arise, a playful question that has no demand except to be heard and then released. What would it be like to dream on a world with an iron heart and a coppery dusk? If Mars could dream, what would its dream be like? A dream of ancient rivers, a dream of mountains that never end, a dream of dust that glows like embers at twilight. The questions float, not to be solved but to float, like boats that drift on a calm lake, returning only to your sense of stillness. You answer with your breath, I am here, I am present, I am listening, I am becoming quiet. The ground answers back with its own quiet, which is to say, it simply continues to hold you, gently and unhurriedly, as if the planet itself is time's most faithful nurse. And now, in the most tender of ways, another small story threads through the night. A pebble, smooth as a lullaby, rests on a broad, sun-warmed slab of rock. It has rolled with the wind since the dawn of the solar system, gathering patience and becoming a patient teacher for any listener who might come to rest nearby. The pebble has witnessed countless days, hot, cold, bright, dark, and through it all, it remembers one simple truth. To endure with grace is to offer a quiet space for others to rest. You do not have to solve anything or repair anything tonight. You simply have to breathe, and the pebble will do the rest by bearing witness to your stillness. It knows a venerable secret, that a calm mind is an arena in which time itself rests, where weeks and years can forget themselves for a moment, and the body can listen to the soft, ancient language of sleep. Do you feel your limbs loosening, your tailbone releasing its burden, your jaw letting go of the tense line that once held your face in a fixed shape? The ground has heard many prayers of fatigue, and it answers with 100 tiny nods of support. A rock's slow acknowledgement, a wind's patient brushing, the very earth's warm, enduring presence that says, in effect, you are not alone. The iron in the ground is not a weapon here. It is a quiet companion, a friend you have known since your first breath, a mineral friend who has never demanded more than your willingness to be present. So you settle and you dissolve a little more into the night. If you wish to speak to Mars in your own quiet way, you may say, I am listening, I am here, I am ready to rest. The planet's response would be not loud but intimate. We will share this hour, this moment of stillness, this long, patient exhale as if we had learned to breathe together across the distance of space. And in that shared breath, the two of you become lighter, almost as if the weight of all your concerns is a physical thing that slides away along the floor, sliding into the iron dust, dissolving into the night air, and becoming part of the planet's memory. There is stillness in the air, a profound, expansive stillness that invites you to stay as long as you wish. Mars's mineral sleep is a patient tutor, guiding your restless thoughts to rest on a shelf of soft fog. You can let the thoughts rest on that shelf, one by one, the way a mother might set down a child after a long day of play. You do not need to chase them. You simply allow them to sit in a row and fade away, becoming nothing more than a gentle glimmer that glows softly on the horizon of your awareness. And if you find yourself thinking of home, of the room you left behind, or the people you love, you can let that thought drift away too, carried on a current of calm toward the far, far star that holds and cherishes the planet you are visiting in sleep. This night you are not bound by the old rooms or familiar walls. You are bound by breath and lullaby and a quiet cosmos. Remember the practical, grounding advice you have gathered along the way, the small rituals that help you invite the night to stay. You might practice the practice of setting a gentle permission. You are allowed to breathe more slowly than your usual pace. You are allowed to soften the muscles of your back and neck, even if you cannot see the end of your to-do list. You are allowed to let your shoulders melt toward the mattress, toward the ground, toward the planet that cradles you with iron and dust. You are allowed to dissolve. The word itself is an invitation. Dissolve into the softness that is here. Dissolve into the quiet that has come to visit you. Dissolve into the mineral sleep of Mars, where the dust glows like tiny embers and the rocks remember how to keep still. So stay here, if you will, for a little while longer, listening to your own lungs, listening to the planet beneath you, listening to the faint, perpetual sigh of iron in the ground. Let the night press softly against you, not as a suffocation, but as a cradle, a gentle cradle built from the slow, mineral wisdom of Mars. You are safe, you are supported, you are belonging here in this dream of red soil, and there is nothing you need to do except drift, settle, and dissolve into the mineral sleep that is Mars, and that now is your own. Good night. The night sighs through your window and settles into the room like a soft shawl. You lie still, or perhaps you float a little, and the world slides from your mind's shoulder like a pebble dropped into a quiet lake. Tonight you listen to Mars, the rust-red heartbeat of a distant world, as if it were a lullaby sung in the key of silence. 2 moons drift there, not to wake you, but to remind you that a gentle turn can carry you somewhere else, somewhere between the edges of wakefulness and sleep. The night sky becomes a quiet harbor, and you are safe there, afloat on a tranquil current that knows your name. There is something in the way the sky holds itself when Mars is listening to the night that makes time loosen its grip. The 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos, are not grand and bright as you might imagine a moon to be. They are more like patient pebbles adrift in a vast, quiet ocean of space, irregular and small, their shapes a little rough around the edges, as if carved by a slow wind of cosmic dust. Phobos, the larger, carries the weight of a memory, circling near Mars with a hum of speed, completing a little, swift dance around the planet in a day that feels too quick for the heart to catch. Deimos, almost a shy echo of its companion, drifts more slowly, a patient friend traveling in the background, always a touch distant, always a touch closer than a dream. You might imagine their paths crossing your window's gaze, tiny satellites tracing a soft braid across the night, a reminder that even in the vastness there is company, there is a companion to every breath you take, a patient double to the one who breathes you in. If you listen, you can hear a question rising in the quiet. What does it feel like to be a planet turning through the cosmos at a pace that feels almost like a sigh? The answer, if it comes, is not a loud verdict, but a gentle drift, like a feather dissolving into warm air, like sunlight spreading through a quiet morning that refuses to hurry. You may settle into your pillow and answer with a nod of your own heart, if you wish. You may answer with a breath that slows until it becomes a small, sure rhythm, a tide that rises and returns without judgment. Tonight, you are free to say yes to the slow design of the universe, and so you breathe. You become aware of a familiar, patient fact that guides you as surely as a lighthouse. A day on Mars, the planet's day, or soul, carries you forward by roughly 24 hours and 39 minutes. Not a perfect hour, not a perfect minute, but a soft, negotiable interval that invites you to settle into a rhythm larger than your own heartbeat. You can rest here within that rhythm, letting your own breath align with the planet's slow, ancient pulse. If you had to tell a story about this day, you might imagine it beginning with a quiet dawn that glows with a faint, copper-tinted light, and ending with a night that wears a velvet cloak of quiet. In that continuum, 24 hours and more, the world teaches you to drift, to float, to settle. You may follow the cadence, or you may let your body lead the way, and Mars will remain gently patient with you, as if the entire planet were a soft tutor offering you a map of stillness. You might picture the vast, quiet shield of Olympus Mons, mountain tall enough to touch the edge of your own dreams, if dreams had edges to touch. It rises like a memory of a thunderous triumph, a colossal volcano that towers above all other features upon a world that has seen rivers of lava in the far, deep past. Its base sprawls wide, and its summit seems almost to float in the atmosphere, a lonely crown of rock and ice and ancient dust. It is a reminder that scale on Mars is not a loud boast, but a quiet testament. The planet holds within its skin a history that can dwarf a person and still allow a person to lay their head down again. If you let your gaze drift toward the imagined site of the mountain, you might feel a cool breath of wind across your temple, a gentle reminder that even in the presence of something so grand, you are allowed to shrink to the size of a soft thought and still be entire. You might then glide away from the mountain's distant echo to a line of canyons, a rift so wide that it seems to breathe with the planet's own heart. The Valles Marineris, great gash of time and stone, stretches like a long, patient tale told in layers of rock and dust. If you lean toward the memory of that canyon, you may sense the whisper of wind through its corridors, a sound like a sigh carried on a sleeping breath. Picture the dust dancing in a thin stream of sunlight that scarcely lifts from the floor of the canyon, a theater of particles that drift and slide and settle, then rise again in a quiet, constant choreography. Your breathing can become a kind of wind, too, moving softly along the walls you imagine, tracing the curves and the edges with a slow, careful warmth. As if your inhale were a river of calm that slides down a wide canyon floor, and your exhale a small gust that taps the rocks into stillness. Mars wears its surface in a color that speaks with a soft, rusted voice. The iron oxide dust coats the soul of the planet, a pigment that makes every dune and rock glow with a warm ember glow. It is a color that can settle into the eye like a whisper, melting into the memory of your own skin and becoming a part of your own night. You may notice how the dust clings to your thoughts, how your thoughts, too, gather around the limit of what you perceive and begin to soften. Let this color become a gentle lullaby in your mind, a soft, rust-colored blanket that invites your breath to sink lower, deeper, toward a place where your muscles release, where your shoulders loosen, where your jaw grows slack and easy. If you wish, you can melt the color into a single thread that threads through your thoughts and then dissolves into the dark, leaving only the quiet. Not far from these landscapes, there is the quiet, almost paradoxical evidence of what once was and what might still be. Scientists tell stories about water that may once have flowed across Mars in rivers, leaving behind minerals shaped by moving currents and the carving of channels in the rock. Ice may rest now in some shadowed corners, hidden beneath the surface like a memory waiting to be retrieved by a careful, patient hand. You do not need to travel to Mars to sense that story. You can feel it in your own breath every time your chest expands and your lungs fill with air that has traveled from your room through the window and into your body. The way water moves on Mars is not a spectacle you must witness to believe. It is a quiet, probable rumor that drifts through the night, suggesting that even a world grown dry and stoic can hold the tenderness of ancient seas beneath its skin. And what is a planet without its atmosphere? Mars wears a very thin veil around its surface, a thinness that makes the air feel like a whisper compared to the breath you take. It is not a cloak that would keep a traveler warm in a storm. Rather, it is a delicate curtain that invites you to listen more closely, to hear the soft rustle of dust skimming along the ground, and then resting, settling. You do not need a heavy coat to navigate this air. You need only to listen, to allow the air to brush your cheeks, as if a friend had pressed a gentle palm to your face and said, in a voice almost lost to the distance, "You are safe here." The veil of Mars is not an obstacle, but a permission slip. You may breathe shallowly or deeply. You may release your breath in a careful exhale or in a broader one if your body wishes. There is room here for whatever you need. A smaller breath to match the pace of a slower heart, or a longer breath to invite a broader sense of ease. As you listen, another layer of the night reveals itself in a series of soft, patient invitations. The night asks you to notice how you feel in your own body when you imagine Mars as a neighbor, a quiet neighbor whose life, though far from yours, hums with a similar desire to rest and refresh. You might notice your hands growing warm or cool, your shoulders dropping just a touch, your mouth following the upward curve of a natural, contented sigh. The universe does not hurry you. It invites you to walk, to drift again, until your path becomes a thread of quiet that you can pull gently toward the center of yourself. You may choose to let your legs unwind, to let your back sink into the bed, to let your neck release the weight it has carried through the day. The choice is your own, and the invitation remains open. Remember the rhythm of a Martian day, and let that rhythm become your own. If you awake at some point during the night and feel the bed tilt your shoulders toward a new angle of ease, you can imagine Mars again as a patient, generous tutor who teaches you to yield to time's gentle cadence. You may think softly that you do not need to fight against the hour, but can let the hour belong to you as you belong to it. The night is not a courtroom where you must prove your worth. It is a safe harbor where you are allowed to release what you do not need, to dissolve the small worries that have gathered in your chest, to watch them drift away on a current of cooling air that comes through the open window and then fades into nothingness as a dream dissolves into the next dream. There is a quiet magic in the way Mars tilts its southern hemisphere toward the sun, a tilt that creates seasons here, not in the sense of grand changes, but in the sense of small, patient shifts. The planet's axial tilt, just enough to offer a gentle variation of light and warmth, gives Mars a calendar of moods, a soft rotation of moments when the ground grows drier or the dust rises with a faint, ceremonial flutter. Tonight you can take this as permission to let your own season drift, to let your mood drift, to allow your breath to follow the same slow orbit. If you feel restless, you may picture your mind as a rover crossing through a quiet plain, pausing to study a rock, listening to the sound of your own steps, and then continuing to move at a pace that feels natural. If you feel peaceful, you may imagine a river of thoughts coursing through your temple, gliding down toward the neck, a gentle current that cannot help but dissolve into the tranquil space behind your eyes. In a moment, you may decide to tell yourself a tiny, almost whispered story about the red planet and its night. Once upon a time, a traveler arrived at a quiet edge of Mars, though the traveler was not a traveler in the usual sense, but a sleeper who carried a map drawn in breath. The traveler looked up and saw Phobos and Deimos performing their slow, patient dance, two small lights circling the world like loyal companions who never hurry, who simply arrive where they belong, then drift away again. The traveler listened to the breath of the planet, a sound so faint and steady that it felt like a distant rain on a windowpane. The traveler traced a line in the air with a finger and watched the line dissolve into the night, becoming a lullaby, becoming a prayer to rest. And the traveler learned to trust this place, to trust the turn of the world, to trust the way the dust glows with ember color and then grows quiet once more. If you wish, you may turn your attention to a small, almost invisible sensation, the cool edge of a pillow, the faint aroma of clean linen, the subtle rhythm of a night that promises not to demand too much of you. You can marvel at how even the faintest scent of home can become a harbor when the mind wants a harbor most. A fragrance that feels like a doorway opening into a room where every chair is a place to perch and listen to your own breath. You do not need to chase a far-off dream right now. You only need to welcome the next breath and let it carry you toward a deeper calm. The calm you seek is not a destination, but a state of arrival that keeps arriving again and again, each cycle a small, soft arrival that you can welcome with the gentleness you deserve. From time to time, you might recall a line of facts about the planet that help you rest, not as a lecture, but as a thread to hold on to as you drift deeper. One line might tell you that two moons, Phobos and Deimos, exist, and that their quiet orbits remind you of companionship and patience. Another line might tell you that a Martian day, the Sol, lasts about 24 hours and 39 minutes, a cadence you can borrow as you release the weight of your day and adopt a slower, kinder pace. A third line could speak of Olympus Mons, a mountain that towers above the land with a height that invites awe and a sense of humility. A fourth line might speak of Voles Marineris, a long canyon whose walls have watched the passage of eons and now watch your breath as you settle. A fifth line might remind you of Mars' color, the rust-red dust lacquered across the surface, an image that can melt into your own skin, turning fear or worry into something like heat fading from a flame until only embers remain. A sixth line could tell you of evidence for ancient water, a suggestion that even a desert world carries traces of what used to flow, the idea that the most ordinary, patient truths can survive long after the visible signs fade. Let these lines drift through you as if they were birds gliding on an evening breeze. They do not demand a response. They simply approach and settle like a quiet visitor who respects your need for rest. If your mind wanders, that is not a mistake, but a natural drift of the sea inside your chest, a tide that ebbs and returns. You may invite the mind to wander and then invite it back with a soft, spoken permission. You may wander and you may return. You may be curious and you may rest. You may listen and you may dissolve. The invitation is always present, a gentle open door that you can walk through whenever you wish. In your own quiet, you may notice your body becoming a softer form, an aerial, cloud-like silhouette resting on the bed. Your toes loosen their grip on the blanket. Your ankles settle. Your calves surrender to the weight of the sheet. Your knees bend slightly as if listening to a distant lullaby. Your hips sink deeper into the bed. Your shoulders release the day's built-up tension. Your arms, heavy and peaceful, find a resting place near your sides. Your hands float to a loose, natural position, perhaps resting one palm over the other, or cradled gently in the air as if catching a whisper. It is not necessary to hold any posture for long. Rather, it is enough to allow gravity to coax you toward your most comfortable alignment, a quiet resonance that invites sleep to arrive like a friend at the door, patient and true. If you are awake in the middle of the night and you wish to re-enter this flow, you can imagine the two moons once again, their silhouettes bright against the dark. Phobos and Deimos might appear smaller or larger in your mind's eye, depending on where your attention lingers. They would remind you that a universe vast enough to cradle them is expansive enough to cradle your worries, and that the act of breathing is a tiny, faithful practice you can perform again and again until you feel yourself becoming something lighter, something more expansive, something that can float in the quiet between thoughts. You may listen to the rhythm of your breath and notice how it aligns not with your busy thinking mind, but with a more ancient, patient rhythm, the rhythm of a planet turning, of a moon tracing a slow arc, of dust settling after a feeling of storm. Tonight, you might experience a kind of ending that is not an ending but a transition. A soft stepping from waking to sleep, a door not slammed shut, but left slightly ajar for a moment, a breath held just a heartbeat longer before letting go. And when the breath finally lets go, there remains a sense of being held by the quiet, held by the stars, held by Mars itself, which waits with the same serenity a parent offers a child as they drift toward dreams. You can stay as long as you wish, you can drift as far as you like, you can wake as soon as a single thought insists on choosing you over rest, or you can drift through the night and awaken only when the dawn hesitates to arrive. In the end, it may not be the facts you carry away that matter most, but the feeling of being gently supported by a vast, ancient presence. The planet's slow turn, the soft glow of its iron dust, the distant bells of two moons moving in their careful orbit, all of these are signs that you are not alone in your desire to rest. You are part of a larger rhythm, a chorus of sleeping beings scattered across space and time, all joining in the simple, profound act of letting go. And in this simple act, you find a deeper truth. That rest itself is a kind of exploration, a slow voyage across the inner seas where your mind learns to drift, your body learns to settle, and your heart learns to dissolve into the night's quiet abundance. Red sand, cold night. The air is a velvet hush, the kind that settles softly on the shoulders and makes even the breath feel like a small, careful act of kindness. You lie down on the quiet curve of a dune, and the world around you slows its clink and clamor into a patient, patient murmur. The temperature tale begins as a breath, a slow exhale from a planet that wears its night like a cold crown. You listen, and your mind drifts into the rhythm of a desert that never quite forgets how to dream. In the moon-gray glow, you notice a shape rising from the red arithmetic of sand, Olympus Mons, that colossal pillow on the old world's face. It is not a mountain you would try to climb awake. It is a lullaby whispered against the sky. The eyes of the night absorb its shadow. and for a moment you are certain you can hear the old, patient volcano breathing in slow, long phrases. It is the planet's own large, quiet heartbeat, a reminder that size can be a kind of mercy, a reminder that even vast, fiery towers can become the soft margin of a dream. The desert settles around it, and you settle with it, as if the whole planet is nudging you toward rest with a gentle, inexorable insistence. You breathe and the air, thin as a sigh, carries you toward an easier stillness. The night teaches you to listen to the small differences between sound and silence, between heat remembered and cold coming on. The temperature here is a careful discipline. A night so cold that the memories of warmth become precious, almost like distant friends who visit only once in a long while. The air holds a kind of rational, patient advice. Let yourselves drift. Let the edges soften. Let your thoughts dissolve into something kinder than worry, something like fog on a quiet lake, something you could forget while it forgets you too. Do you feel the chill press in gently, as if you are being wrapped in a blanket woven with starlight and dust? It is not a harsh cold, but a precise one, the kind that tells you exactly where to place your focus, on the slow beating of your heart, on the soft, even rise and fall of your lungs, on the minute world that continues to turn even as you become more still. Mars does not hurry. It simply keeps the tempo of a lunar lullaby, and you follow its tempo with your own quiet breaths. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your open mouth, or however your body finds its own doorway toward sleep. Every pattern is legitimate here, every drift is welcome. The planet would tell you so if it could speak in words, if the temperature could speak with a gentle, glassy voice and say, "You are safe to drift, you are safe to dissolve." Two tiny companions drift across the night above you, their shapes intriguingly humble against the great red expanse. Phobos and Deimos, not moon-sized to awe, but moon-sized to remind you that closeness does not always come loud. Sometimes it comes with a softness that hums, a faint, constant companionship. They orbit with a patient, almost shy gravity, circling the planet in a slow, snickering waltz that seems less about conquest and more about presence. Do you hear their quiet talk as they trace the same old course, time and again, a whispering sign that you are not alone in your desire to rest? They are small, irregular, unafraid to look imperfect, and in their imperfectness, there is a gentleness that teaches you how to rest in your own ordinary lines and curves. Tonight, let the idea of timing be a friend rather than a tyrant. Mars has seasons, friend, and the tilt of its axis, what a patient thing it is, allows the planet to go through solar seasons with a curiosity that echoes your own. Not like Earth's, not a twin, but a kindly cousin with its own peculiar cadence. In Mars, a winter night can stretch into a slow, lucid twilight that settles the bones and quiets the jitter of the mind. Summers arrive not with the rush of heat, but with a soft, persistent glow that lingers in the dust, giving the horizon a slow, amber smile. Do you sense the way time loosens its grip in a desert world? It unwinds with a languid breath, and you are invited to follow its non-urgent pace, to step out of the hurry you carry and into the hush that lives between heartbeats. There are small, almost tender mathematical truths in your pocket of night, truths about how Mars holds onto something we rarely notice in our own homes. A different kind of temperature, one that learns to stay, not rush, not hurry, not insist that you go. The surface pressure, whispers a quiet line of poetry into your ear. I am here at roughly the same breath for most of the planet's day, a steadiness you could lean into if you chose to. Your breath answers with a sigh that becomes a song. Your heart answers with a creaking, but calming rhythm. The temperature's tale is not a shout. It is a lullaby told by a night that has learned to endure the long, patient cold, and yet still hold a gentleness for your sleeping mind. The red sand under the weight of the night knows something about patience you might have forgotten in the bright afternoons where urgency thrums in every task. The sand is a memory of long, slow winds that once braided lines of fire and debt and dream across the surface. Now the winds are softer, more measured, and the sands shift with the quiet confidence of a room rearranged to fit a peaceful body. If you listen closely, you can hear a whisper of ancient water, a memory etched in the grains, a reminder that water was once more than a rumor on this planet. The ground wears such memory like a ring on a finger, there, visible in the subtle tremor of the soil when a distant wind speaks, and here, unspoken, in the way the horizon blushes with the last kiss of a sun that has already slept. Let us drift toward a few gentle facts as you might drift toward a shoreline in a dream. Fact 1, softly stated, folds into this night like a candle into wax. Olympus Mons looms not as a menace, but as a patient guardian of the long, cold hours. It is the largest volcano in the solar system, an ancient, sleeping arch of rock that towers above the horizon with a calm dominion. It would dwarf any earthly peak you've known, yet here it takes its place as a quiet sentinel. Its height, the science-chosen word for it, is a staggering 22 kilometers, or about 13.6 miles, becomes, in your sleeping sense, a bedtime story of taking up a lot of space so that contentment can take up a little space inside you. The grandness of it warms nothing and everything in a paradoxical way. It warms the imagination by giving it something to rest upon, something substantial to lean against as you float toward a dream that is all about listening. Fact 2, not loud, but true in the softest possible way. Mars glides through the night with 2 moons, Phobos and Deimos. They are small, they are shy, they are perhaps a bit imperfect in shape, like a lyric that forgot a word and then found it again. They orbit with a patient, looping patience, circling the planet in a slow, ritual dance. They remind you that closeness does not require grandeur to be meaningful. They remind you that companionship can be quiet and constant, a pair of glimmers moving through a big, quiet sky. As you listen to the faint glimmer above, your heartbeat begins to match their cadence, a gentle alignment with the cosmos that makes your own breathing feel less separate from the night, more a shared rhythm with a broader, kinder universe. Fact 3, a gentle calendar of light and air. Mars, with its axis tilted at about 25 degrees, experiences seasons as Earth does, though in its own idiosyncratic fashion. Winter nights lengthen into long, clear hours that encourage you to sink deeper into the bed you've found, to let the cold become a teacher of patience and a signal to slow down. Summer days, in turn, drift by with a forgiving, mellow glow that doesn't scorch, but invites a slower savoring of the hours. Do you notice how the planet's tilt acts like a lullaby that never finishes, always leaving a soft refrain in the air? Your body records the cadence, and your mind follows, weaving a quilt of rest that is specific to this red world, this cold night, this moment when you decide to let resonance replace restlessness. Fact 4 arrives as a quiet reminder of the fragility and the clarity of life's breath. The atmosphere of Mars is thin. It is mostly carbon dioxide, a delicate veil that cannot sustain Earth-like weather the way a thick coat can hold heat. The pressure is low, the kind that makes you notice your own breath more acutely, your exhale becoming a visible sigh that travels just a little way before dissolving into the nothingness of space. In this light, your own breath feels more precious, more intimate. You may notice how your chest rises with a careful ease, how your nostrils adapt to the air and learn to welcome even the faintest warmth of your own body's warmth. There is a kindness here in constraints, a way to learn about coexistence. You and the planet sharing space, neither overpowering, both learning to listen. Fact 5, a thread of water that history wears like a pearl chain around its wrist. There is evidence, soft, patient, a trace rather than a loud proclamation, that Mars once hosted rivers and lakes. It is not a current story to wake you, but a memory that dances at the edge of the dune's shadow. You may rest your palm on a handful of imaginary soil and feel the ancient ache of rain enough to carve channels into rock, enough to sculpt a world out of stubborn rock and patience. And then, perhaps, you imagine little channels on sun-baked slopes, lines of dark rock that suggest the possibility of briny flows during warmer ages. The mind paints them for you, while the body learns to settle, to listen for signs that the planet remembers, even when the memory is quiet, even when the evidence is mere suggestion and dream. The dream accepts the suggestion and lets it dissolve into soft rumors that float away, like a feather on a sleeping river. Fact 6 arrives not as a shout, but as a gentle warning and a reassurance bundled together: dust storms. Martial winds can pick up and wrap the entire planet in a blurred, rust-colored veil. They are not violent in their essence here, not in the way storms can feel on Earth. They are a blanket, a moving sculpture of air that shifts the dust and then settles again, leaving a memory of movement in the air. The dust helps keep the surface temperature steady in its own quiet way, smoothing the temperature curve into a gentle lullaby rather than a cliff. When the wind rises, you feel it as a sudden softness against your skin, a reminder that change can be tender, that even meteorology can be a form of sleep training, teaching you to yield, to soften, to trust the night's own architecture. And with each new fact, a small ritual unfolds, a mini story about a traveler who never quite arrives, because the journey becomes the destination, and the destination is the soft bed waiting for you. The traveler arrives not with a roar, but with a sigh, with a smile that recognizes the step-by-step nature of rest. The journey is not about conquering distance, but about learning how to become the night's own guest. You become that traveler, and Mars becomes your map of calm, your atlas of quiet, your book of leave-taking for the day. Let us drift deeper into the margins of this night, the spaces where thoughts become questions that answer themselves with quiet. What is the value of a planet's temperature, if not to invite you to notice your own? What does it mean to feel a cold night as a friend rather than a foe? It means you can practice what your body already knows. That to rest is to participate in a larger body's steady, living rhythm. The science is not separate from sleep. It is a lullaby you can hold in your mind as you drift. The numbers become a cadence. A few degrees here, a few degrees there, a gentle arithmetic that matters only for the moment you listen, the moment you decide to let go. You listen to the night, and you listen to Mars as a patient teacher. It teaches you to measure your breath against a world that measures by seasons and by shadows. It teaches you to let your thoughts descend, to slow your plans, to soften your judgments, to forgive yourself for the times you woke in fear or in hurry. The planet's temperature tale is not a scandal, but a soft, continuous reassurance. You are safe in the quiet, you are safe in the vastness, you are safe in the slow turning of a world that does not demand your immediate wisdom, only your presence, your willingness to settle into the moment you are in. The ground under you is a living letter to the night, a note in a long, slow correspondence between you and the cosmos. It says, in 100 small ways, that rest is not a loss, but a gain you can carry with you when you wake. A buoyant memory of soft sand, a memory of cold air that felt like a boundary and a doorway at once, a memory of the planet's patient gravity wrapping around you with the gentleness of a grandmother's shawl. You become more aware of your own footsteps in the dune, though you do not move them. You become aware of the way your shoulders lower and the jaw unclenches, the tongue loosens, the eyes lose their sharpness for a while, and dreams begin to negotiate space with waking life. There is a sense that Mars, this crimson canvas, has a way of asking permission to be seen and then granting that permission with a quiet nod. It asks, through its frosty breath and the slow orbit of its faint moons, if you will allow the planet to be part of your night's healing. And you answer with your whole self, yes. Yes, I will let the temperature tell its slow, patient story. Yes, I will listen to the dust as it sighs in the air and settle into the slow rhythm of my chest. Yes, I will allow rest to reside here, not as a mere absence of thought, but as a gentle, full presence, the sense that even the most faraway world can cradle your body and cradle your mind at once. Now the night grows softer still. The moonlight on the red dust becomes a whispered lullaby, a river of light that slides across your skin and into your bones. The horizon, a pale seam, bleeds into the sky in a way that makes the universe feel intimate rather than distant. The temperature tale keeps pace with your breath, imitating the rise and fall in a way that speaks to both science and dream. You remember that the planet's life, the life you cannot touch, but feel in the stillness, exists in the long, quiet archive of the night. It exists in the way the dust holds the memory of a wind that has passed, in the way the moons glide in their circular, gentle gossip about the planet below. And so the night carries you. You are a small vessel, a drifting leaf, and Mars is the great, patient ocean in which you float. The sea is not water, but the air's stillness and the earth's memory. It is the knowledge that you can let the body release what no longer serves it and keep a few treasures. The trust that this is enough. The belief that rest is meaningful even when it seems unremarkable. The quiet thrill of letting go and letting be. In this space, you are free to forget what was heavy, to unspool it from your neck, your shoulders, your jaw, your knees, your ankles. You are free to forget gravity's pressure and remember your own capacity to breathe, to soften, to dissolve into the night's care. The temperature tale is a map and a lullaby, a guide that shows you how to travel inward when the world grows large and loud. It teaches you that endurance can be a virtue of the night, a practice you can carry into the waking hours, as a kind of medicine for the mind. It tells you that to rest is not to abandon the world, but to let the world's softness re-enter you at a different pace. A pace that does not need to be explained, but rather accepted with a grateful nod. If you listen very closely, you may hear a final, delicate reminder carried on the whisper of the dust. The planet remains, the night holds, and you are allowed to remain with it for as long as you wish. A gentle permission peeks into your dream, asking only one thing: let yourself settle, settle, settle. The body complies, as if it had always known how to align with the star-warmed coldness of Mars's breath. The mind follows, sliding into a long, serene corridor of sleep, where every door leads to a softer, kinder version of you. And as you slip deeper, a second memory seeds itself in your chest, the memory of that doubly gentle fact: Mars's climate is not a trap, but a teacher. It shows you how to inhabit stillness without becoming numb, how to let a night become a friend rather than an adversary. It shows you how to visit the edge of wakefulness and return, keeping the edge for the next moment when you need to smile at the dawn without feeling unmoored. The red sands, the cold night, the pale silvery moons, each a note, a breath, a patient syllable in a long, undemanding prayer you offer to your own body and to the planet's slow, enduring mercy. Rest now and let the night fold you into its calm. Let the memory of Olympus Mons become a quiet skyline behind your eyelids, a silhouette of shelter against the dark. Let Phobos and Deimos drift across your thoughts in their patient, glimmering way, a soft chorus of tiny guardians who keep watch over your sleep. Let the tilt of the planet, the seasons, the thin air, the ancient rivers, and the wandering storms wash over you like a tide of tranquil light. Let yourself drift until the world around you becomes a dream you are allowed to keep, a dream you can wake within, a dream that will greet you again each night as you return to this red, cold, and wonderfully patient place. The night you attend to Mars is the night you learn to listen with your body as well as your mind. The planet sits at the edge of your window of sleep, a pale ember in the vast quiet, a patient companion whose thirst for time is slower than your own. Ancient rivers whisper in the crust, though the water long ago ceased to carve channels into the surface in the way Earth might remember moisture. Still, you can hear their memory. Soft, patient, persistent as a lullaby that has learned how to breathe. The world beyond your breath softens, the room becomes a cradle of dark velvet, and the horizon beyond your sight thickens with the hush of space. You sink deeper into the bed, as if the sheets themselves drifted with a slow, secret tide, guiding you toward the edge where memory and sleep meet. One gentle fact drifts in as a quiet breeze. Mars preserves the memory of ancient river valleys, clues that water flowed across the planet long ago. If you tilt your ear toward the quiet, you'll imagine a time when the desert sang with the trickle of rain and the crust wore the soft fingerprints of liquid rivers. The memory is not loud. It does not demand your attention. It invites you to lay your head down and let the story of water become a story of breath. The valley networks are like fine, aging handwriting on a sheet of rock, thin lines that speak to you as you lie still. Do you hear the soft syllables of those ancient channels, winding through the planet's memory and becoming part of your own night map? And so we begin with a slow, circular thought, as if a small planet had rolled itself up like a sleeping bosom and asked you to listen. You are lying here, and across or behind your thoughts, there is a calm that doesn't shout, only attends. The Mars you greet in this moment is not a battlefield of red dust and stark cliffs, but a patient teacher, a guardian of quiet. The first fact, hidden in plain sight within those ancient grooves, tells you that time here moves with a languid grace. Centuries pass, then a few more, and still the memory remains, as if the valley walls have learned the art of listening to your breathing. You can breathe in, and in that inhale, you may sense a kind of wind that never reaches your room, but travels in through the window of your imagination, carrying with it the scent of old soils and the faint mineral of the planet's skin. Now your mind drifts to another small truth, a second gentle fact that slides in like a soft feather onto your chest. A day on Mars, the soul, unfolds over about 24.5 Earth hours. It is a day comparable to your own, yet it wears a different rhythm, a cadence that belongs to a world that does not rush, that allows the night to linger longer in certain hours and the sun to rise with a patient, almost ceremonial light. When you imagine this day stretching out on the red desert, you might feel time loosening its grip on you, loosening the knot of the day you left behind. You can let your mind drift as if a slow tide were tracing the shoreline of your thoughts, pulling away a little at yesterday and inviting you toward a softer dawn that never fully arrives because it is forever arriving. Do you sense the cadence of that Martian day, the way every minute remains a whisper rather than a shout? The other quiet invitation, another gentle fact that settles in your spine like a feather, speaks of one of Mars's most famous shapes. Olympus Mons, the colossal shield volcano that rises with the dignity of a patient, sleeping mountain. It is not a mountain that shouts its height. It is a mountain that sits at the edge of your perception and asks you if you will allow your breath to travel upward with its slow, wide spine. Olympus Mons is taller than any mountain on Earth, a world-shaped sigh that once rose above a different horizon and then settled into the stillness of the red plains. Picture the great slope as a soft, unhurried breath, a long exhale that you could follow with your eyes as you rest. The memory of such a mountain does not intrude. It invites you to envisage your own limits dissolving, your own worries flattening into a gentle plate of nothingness. If you listen closely, you can hear the wind coaxing the rock, a far-off hush that sounds like a single, forever-delayed lullaby. And now the third gentle fact slides into your awareness, almost as if a soft finger had touched your temple to remind you that you are allowed to be lighter than you are. Mars's atmosphere is thin, mostly carbon dioxide, thin enough that you would press your cheek to the outer glass of your ship and feel a hush in the air rather than a storm. In your room, this translates to a sense of spacious quiet, a ceiling of velvet beyond which your thoughts do not leap, but glide. The fact might be counted as a warning in another context, yet here it becomes a doorway to ease, to a sense of floating rather than falling. The thin air invites you to reduce your grip on the day's worries, to let your shoulders soften and your jaw unclench. Do you feel how space itself can cradle you, not with weight, but with possibility, a possibility to dissolve into the quiet that surrounds you? Let us loosen the pace a little now for another fact, one that does not demand to be loud, but asks to be tended, concerns gravity. Mars's gravity is gentler than Earth's, roughly a little more than a third of our own. Imagine you could step onto a Martian hillside and find your steps almost buoyant, your body more suspended than pressed. Not a flight exactly, but a delicate, hovering ease, as if your limbs were unlearning the habit of force and discovering the art of kindness toward themselves. In this softer gravity, you would conserve your energy in a way that allows the mind to wander, not to wander away, but to drift towards steadily lengthening dream corridors. The idea is not that you become weightless in your room, but that you become weightless in your longing to keep busy, to worry, to stay alert. You are allowed to float in this moment, to let every thought be a ripple on a quiet pond, to watch it travel and then dissolve. The fourth gentle fact, kept in the pocket of the night, speaks of Mars as a planet that wears seasons and ice with a patient, seasonal mind. Its polar caps are made up of carbon dioxide frost in winter, and there is water ice too, tucked away beneath the soil in various latitudes. The tilt of the planet keeps a slow, respectful rhythm with the sun, granting Mars its own solar seasons that turn the red world into a kind of theater in which the audience sits in stillness and watches the costumes of frost and dust shift across the stage. This is not drama, it is a quiet continuity, the way a river may change its course over countless long nights, while you, in a distant room, continue simply to listen. Can you sense the way time loosens its grip again here, allowing your thoughts to settle for a moment, to become as patient as the planet itself? A fifth gentle fact closes the small circle with a soft, almost ceremonial tone. Mars holds the remains of ancient rivers inside its crust, and yet the planet continues to host dunes and wind sculpting, dust devils that dance in the low gravity, microstorms that sweep across the plain with a certain polite persistence. It is a paradox you can feel as you lie still. Movement remains, even where water has forgotten how to flow. The wind carries fine grains of mineral matter, and you might imagine your own breath becoming a gentle wind, carrying away a worry that has perched on your chest for too long. You can watch the memory of wind shaping rock with the same patient care you offer your own psyche as it smooths the rough edges of your day into something softer, something more sleep-ready. Do you sense the little, almost invisible choreography, the way dust lifts and settles, the way the planet's atmosphere seems to gather and release all at once, like an exhale and inhale of a distant, quiet life? Now you drift again into a different river of thought, for the scene expands beyond the scientific lines and enters the realm of memory and metaphor. Mars is a teacher who asks only for your attention, and it asks in a language made of quiet. The language of the pause, of the stretch between breaths, of the moment right before the exhale becomes sleep. Each element, water's memory, the length of a soul, Olympus Mons, the thin air, the gravity that invites a soft lift, the shifting seasons, becomes a thread in a tapestry you are weaving with your own sleep-deepening breath. The ceiling is no longer a boundary, but a gateway, a canvas for your mind's gentle painting. The painting of stillness, of a horizon that never rushes you, of a night that is not empty, but full of small, patient wonders. You can let your thoughts drift like a cloud over a Martian plain, preserving them, releasing them, and watching them dissolve into the color of your eyelids. As you settle, the fifth gentle fact becomes a companion that sits at your shoulder without crowding you. It is the awareness that Mars is not just a place of distance and science, but a world of quiet, of long, slow processes that remind you how sleep works. A process of release, a process of folding time into itself until the night becomes a cradle, and the cradle becomes a time for you to rest. The room grows a little softer, the light less certain in its edges, until your eyes feel heavy as if they were lending themselves to gravity's gentle embrace. You could count your breaths, but you choose instead to listen to the space between breaths. The quiet is the true counting, and you are the number that dissolves into it, becoming a single, unhurried whole. Now the narrative invites you to relax your jaw, to loosen the spaces behind your teeth, to let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth, to permit the throat to soften, as if a distant tide is curling up toward a shore that is your own neck and shoulders. You can hear a soft, distant tone, the memory of a windstorm perhaps, or the sound of sand rather than water, tuning itself to your body's quiet rhythm. You are not asked to forget your day, only to let it drift behind the scene, as a theater curtain falls before a late-night audience, leaving you to watch the familiar stage go dark and to feel time slow down its pace to yours. Do you feel how the room gives you permission to drift, to dissolve, to become a person who knows how to sleep? Consider the feel of your hands resting on the duvet, the sensation of fabric smoothing itself to your fingers. The nose remembers the faint scent of the room, the soft, neutral aroma of night air, and the warmth of your own body, the kind of scent that makes you feel you are exactly where you need to be, held in some invisible cradle of care. The mind, which had traveled across ancient rivers and lofty volcanoes, now returns to this private shoreline, where waves of sleep gently lap at the edge of your thoughts. The stars outside are patient watchers, not compellers. They keep their distance, as if to respect your need for quiet. In this hum of stillness, you may notice your ribs rising and falling with unhurried rhythm, a little more even with each moment, as if your body is agreeing to accompany sleep with its own soft tempo. In the lingering hush, you might recall one last image, a gentle invitation to deepen. Think of a small rover, a traveler on wheels, ticking softly across the red soil of a distant moon, its lights blinking in the night like a metronome keeping time with your breathing. The rover does not rush. It travels the world with a careful, even pace, learning the language of the ground through which it moves. Its quiet persistence is a mirror for you. You also travel through this sleep, not by force, but by a patient, accepting pace, letting your mind map out the contours of rest as a traveler maps a new road. You do not need to reach a distant end tonight. You simply need to keep moving toward the place where your body can settle, your thoughts can soften, and your heartbeat can become a tide that rolls you into the harbor of dreams. If you would like, you can lease your attention for a moment to something you cannot see directly but can feel. The idea that time can stretch itself to accommodate your need for quiet, that the universe can wait for your sleep with a patient, almost cherishing calm. You can tell yourself that it is allowed to soften here, to dissolve the concerns that have tagged along the edges of your day. With each slow breath, you release a fragment of worry, as if you are shedding a light dusting of sand that has gathered along your thoughts. Let it go, let it drift. The room remains, the planet remains, the night remains, an ever-watchful, ever-loving cradle. And now, in the final stretch of this voyage, you rest your awareness on the sensation of surrender, the feeling of sinking into the bed as if the bed itself is a gentle ocean upon which you could float. Your shoulders settle, your jaw relaxes further, and a lightness spreads through your limbs. The mind slows, and the mind becomes a field of quiet where ideas may wander, and then return to rest. The ancient rivers may whisper within the crust, but their whispers no longer demand your attention. They share instead, and you are content to listen and to drift. If you wish to stay awake, you can, but you would be only a quiet observer of your own gentleness, and that is a kind of sleep too. If you wish to sleep, your body will follow, as if it remembers the way back to a still, safe cradle. The night continues to lean in. Mars keeps a slow vigil with its memory and its majesty, a reminder that even worlds with harsh surfaces can harbor tenderness, can cradle a sleeping traveler with the most patient of hands. You turn toward the inside, toward a center that glows faintly with the glow of your own calm. Your breath becomes a soft, repetitive prayer to ease. Your mind, a slow-moving river that does not hurry but steadily glides toward the banks of dreams. The ancient rivers whisper in the crust, and you listen. And in listening, you begin to listen to yourself more kindly, more fully, more deeply. The night accepts you as you are, and you accept the night as it accepts you, the warm, unfaltering embrace of a repose that allows your becoming to soften into rest.